Have you ever felt frustrated waiting to be seen when you're not feeling your best? Or ever struggled through tests and expensive procedures without ever finding real relief? Imagine if you could get a better understanding of your overall well-being right now, in minutes. What would that mean to you, or to your family? We'd like you to know there's a whole new way to improve your comprehension surrounding your wellness, using a total body scanner unlike any other, right in your own home. This groundbreaking new technology helps you to better understand your body's needs and wellness status, and it's available to you and your family right now. Here's how the science works. Every organ in the human body vibrates at a particular frequency. When illness appears, this frequency changes. Think about it like tuning a guitar. When the string frequencies are incorrect, the music will not sound harmonious. When your body's frequencies are restored, you restore harmony to your whole body, energizing and optimizing your mental, emotional, and nutritional states. We found that people who experienced this technology were so excited they started telling everyone. So we also created an income opportunity where people can earn a little extra by sharing the product. No more wondering, no more worrying. Take charge of creating your best life.
We adopted our son, Michael, at 9 months old, and Michael came with a pre-existing condition called cerebral palsy. As young parents, we were just delighted to have Michael in our lives. As Michael started to grow over the next few years, the cerebral palsy became more and more evident. And about the time he started preschool, around 4 or 5 years old, Michael would walk with his arms above his head, kind of like this, kind of bouncing off the walls to maintain his balance. And so it was evident he was headed towards that direction to where a wheelchair would be coming up pretty soon. As parents, like any parents, we just wanted Michael to have the best life possible. And so we traveled to Mexico, England, Germany, various places here in the United States to look at therapies for children with cerebral palsy, to see if we could improve his quality of life. And everywhere we went, we were met with pretty much the same explanation. There is no cure for cerebral palsy. The best we can do is just exercise and diet and things like this to help improve the quality of life that he has. And as parents, that wasn't good enough. We felt like there had to be something more. There had to be something greater that could help. And when we went out of the country, Germany specifically, Mexico, even one trip to Japan, there was more hope there. There were more things in the works. There were more therapies available. And so that allowed me to start looking into different directions. Now, this is back in the 80s. The internet wasn't around. And so we were going to trade shows. We would go to health shows and health fairs. And I became introduced to a book called Mega Brain by Michael Hutchings. And that book became my new Bible, at least as far as it came for therapies for my son, Michael. And in there, through that book, I came across different therapies. And one of them was from Ohio State University of Medicine, Dr. David Clark, Dr. Margaret Pattison, a neurosurgeon out of Scotland, Aberdeen, Scotland, Dr. Persinger at Laurentian University in Toronto, Canada. And these three doctors had been pioneering different therapies. They didn't know anything about each other. Dr. Clark was working with spinning a child in a chair to help develop the inner ear. And he found that this was helping with all sorts of neurological issues. Dr. Persinger was using lights and different flashing lights to the eyes to help stimulate left and right brain connection. And then Dr. Patterson, a neurosurgeon, was developing microcurrent that would be applied just behind the ear or to the earlobe that was helping the brain create new neural pathways. Well, these three things were pretty important to me. And so as we looked into this and started working on this, we eventually developed a machine that later became known as the theta chamber. And Michael was our first recipient of that technology. And what we did now, at the time we had this, Michael was now almost 8 years old. His cerebral palsy was becoming more and more an issue in his mobility. And at the end of that, it was a 21-day course based on what Persinger and Clark and Patterson were doing. There are different protocols. And so we did that for Michael for 21 days. And at the end of that 21 days, there was a little bit of improvement in Michael. I mean, he seemed to be processing information faster. His mobility was a little bit better. It was the next 6 months that were magical. In those next 6 months, Michael's mobility became almost normal. He transitioned from handicapped school to a normal school. And Michael is now 40 years old, will be 40 this June, and he's a second-degree black belt, speaks multiple languages to some degree or another, and physically, you would have never known that Michael ever had cerebral palsy. All right, so that whole experience was life-changing for our family. And I realized at that time that there were things that we didn't know here. And that led me on this journey, which has brought me to where we are today in 2022. We learned about frequencies. We learned about different therapies. We learned about our belief systems. We learned about what we say to ourselves, how all of these things affect us. Well, in 2008, my wife and I were in China attending a medical convention, and there was a booth there from Russia that had developed a scanner that scanned the body through frequencies through the brain. Well, this was my new real big interest. And we went to their booth. We experienced a scan, a digital body scan with these big transducers on our head. And it nailed us. It showed us everything that was wrong or awry in our bodies to the T. Well, we later worked with that company and acquired the rights to bring that to the United States. And we did that until about 2012. And then when technology had advanced, in other words, Windows 10 came available, the software wouldn't be stable anymore. And as we worked with the company, they had decided to bag it. The software had been written in the late 80s, early 90s on software that nobody supports anymore. And so they basically says, you're pretty much on your own. And so over the next 2 to 3 years, we rewrote all of that software, all of their information on today's technology and for today's platform and software. And it became the AO scan. And we've been promoting the AO scan since 2012. And it was a big system. It was a $30,000 scanner that was in a doctor's office, and you'd go in and you'd sit there and you'd be there anywhere from an hour to 3 hours depending on your scan, based on the old technology. Well, we were able to bring that technology to where we could get it done with much smaller transducers, and we could do it in about 45 minutes to an hour. Well, part of that scanner was inner voice, and the inner voice is where we record about 10 to 20 seconds of your voice, and we analyze 2,000 frequencies over 12 notes. And we're looking for frequencies that are out of range, way high or way low. And as you listen to those frequencies played back in your headset, it helps with your emotions, which helps with some of the other physical issues you'd be dealing with. Well, we thought that that would be an amazing tool to put into the hands of as many people as we can. If you can get a hold of your emotions, then your physical issues aren't as dramatic and you're able to deal with them better. And so we started working with a mobile device that just had the inner voice portion of the scanner on it. Well, as that became ready to go to market, and that was about $2,000 for that device, and then a monthly fee of about $200 a month to maintain the software. We realized, well, maybe we can add a little bit more of the other scanner to this, and we added a little bit of vitals and a little bit of comprehensive, and we introduced it. And that went for about a year and a half. And then we had people come to us and say, you know, we need to get this out to the masses. And that's how Solex came to be. The full $30,000 scanner in your hand that you can now take and share with the world. Have a CAT scan of the head done,
yeah.
And she'd also done a scan on her. Well, I think she did the scan of the. I'll have to put that on the screen, but it was the sinus area, the respiratory, because it showed the sinuses and stuff. And she goes in and she sees her ear, nose, and throat specialist, and she says, "Here's my CAT scan. And by the way, I scanned myself on this." And the doctor's looking and going, "Wow, that's interesting.
What's this?
Well, let me take a look at your X-ray or your CAT scan." And she's looking at that, and then all of a sudden, she said that she put the thing down and she looked over and says, "Where did you get this?"
Yeah.
And she said to the doctors, "What's the matter?" She says, "It's not that anything's the matter. It's just I've never seen. This is almost exactly what your CAT scan says." Mm-hmm. And it led her into a discussion with this doctor about getting a scanner.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting. We have a real treat for you today. We have Dr. Pat Tucker here from Memphis, or just outside of Memphis, visiting us today, and he's a friend of Solex. And I'm going to have Dr. Tucker explain to you how he got involved with Solex. How did you come to get involved with Solex as a doctor?
Lauren, I've been a medical doctor for 32 years, and all allopathic medicine, urgent care, ER, and my wife got me introduced to some functional medicine, and I started doing some training and realizing that allopathic medicine didn't have answers for everything. And the more I studied, the more I learned, and the more I realized that allopathic medicine was lacking in a lot of areas. But my wife brought home an AO scanner, and my first response was, "Oh my gosh, what is this?" And what she was telling me that it did was even more incredible. But as I started playing with it, and as she started testing me and going through some of the basic training on it, I was just shocked. I was in awe. I mean, there are a lot of things I don't understand in life, and I'm sure quantum physics is right up at the top of those. But I have come to learn that the AO scanner works, and it's quite an amazing tool. I think my first experience with really proving the AO scan to myself was I was about to have an insurance physical to get new life insurance. And I scanned myself either the day before or the day after, but during the life insurance exam, they drew blood to check all my cholesterol and all that great stuff. Well, I have a terrible family history of heart disease, and my cholesterol's always been elevated. So when I tested myself on the AO scanner and scanned myself, it showed my cholesterol and triglycerides were all perfect. And I'm like, this thing doesn't work. I mean, I've never had low cholesterol 20 something years ago, I took statin medicine for just a little while, and that's the only time it's ever been really normal. But I didn't like taking it, so I stopped, and against my cardiologist opinion. But so I scanned myself. It showed my cholesterol and triglycerides and HDL were all normal. So I just kind of poo-pooed it and had the physical. They drew the blood. Well, about a week later, I got an email with my lab results from the insurance physical. And lo and behold, my cholesterol was as normal as it's ever been. I mean, completely normal. And I was totally shocked. And the first thing I thought of was, dadgum, the AO scanner was actually right. I mean, it nailed that, and I never would have imagined that would have happened.
Now, how many times did your wife scan you before you did the physical?
Oh, dozens.
Okay.
Dozens of times.
Okay.
And usually it showed my cholesterol up, so that didn't really shock me. But when it showed up normal, I thought, I can't trust this thing.
So it took some time.
It took a little time.
Okay, good.
And a lot of experience as well.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, your wife introduced you to it. So how much opportunity did you have to play with it?
It took a little while. My wife is kind of possessive of her AO scanner, so I had to grab it while she was asleep or in the shower and play with it. So it took me a little while to get used to using the scanner and playing with it. But the more I did, the more I didn't understand, and the more I understood at the same time.
Right. So you were telling me a little earlier about a friend of yours who had been in an accident. You want to talk about that?
Absolutely. Sure. My wife does a Bible study with a lot of ladies, and she introduced the AO scan to her. She's very excited about the AO scan, and it's just natural. So she just scanned them all. And they were all shocked and amazed with the AO scan. And we went out to eat with a couple one night, and they came back to our home afterwards, and his wife, my friend's wife, started talking about the AO scan and how amazing it was. And he told us the story, and I didn't know this ahead of time, but he told us a story about this terrible car wreck that he was in when he was in college, and slid up under the side of an 18-wheeler, crushing his left upper arm, all the ribs in the left side of his chest, broke bones in his back. I mean, it just took him a very long time to recover from that. So that night at my house, we scanned him. And when he looked at his email and got the results, he just kept saying, no, there's no way. How would it know that? You know, it was showing up all kind of residual problems in his left shoulder and left chest and his back, and he was totally shocked.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing, very amazing.
Now, Dr. Tucker, as a medical doctor, and your experience with the AO scan to this point, would you say this is a diagnostic tool?
No, it can't be a diagnostic tool.
Why?
Well, one of the reasons is it's extremely sensitive. So let's say that we go somewhere and eat a salad. Mm-hmm. And on that salad, and we don't like to think about this, but on that salad there are lots of parasites, lots of different bacteria, things that sometimes might make us sick, but not always. And our gut is, if you have a healthy gut, all that stuff just passes right through. Well, when you scan someone, you're picking up those bacteria and parasites that are passing through your GI system, but they're not making you sick. So sometimes on the AO scan, you will see 3 or 4 parasites show up. And I mean, the first thing that I did when I saw that was, I don't have parasites. Well, I don't have sickness from parasites, but those may be passing through my GI tract or recently passed through my GI tract so that they're showing up on the scanner. So there's a difference between the frequency, finding something there, and diagnosing a disorder from that. So the AO scan can tell you a lot of things. That doesn't necessarily mean that those things are going to make you sick or create a medical diagnosis, that you're making a diagnosis with the AO scan.
I appreciate that, because we make a big point of the AO is not a diagnostic tool and should never be used as one. It's an educational tool to help people make better life decisions.
Absolutely. One of the things that I look at the AO scan is it helps you to understand some of the lifestyle issues you have. Just like me, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, things that we need to look at and realize that I need to change my diet. I need to lose 20 pounds. I need to start working out. And we can track those things with the AO scan. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're diagnosing you with high cholesterol or diagnosing you with any of those things, being overweight, but it tracks those things to help you understand that you're unhealthy and that you need to do something to become healthy and to change those parameters.
Appreciate that. That is so true. Well, we're so excited to have Dr. Tucker join us and help us. He's going to be with us on the day of discovery, and he's also going to help be part of phase 2 of Solex University. So look forward to day of discovery. Get signed up for phase 2 as soon as it comes available. He'll bring to you a wealth of information from that perspective of the medical field and how these two can blend without crossing the line for either one.
Absolutely.
It's nice to have you, Dr. Tucker.
Thank you, Lauren.
See you soon.